Well, we got some ranked-on-ranked action in college football this weekend with 5th-ranked Clemson heading to Winston-Salem to take on number 21 Wake Forest. 10th-ranked Arkansas head to College Station to face Texas A&M, and the SEC on CBS takes us to Rocky Top, where the orange, that will be the color of choice, as the 11th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers welcome the Florida Gators to Neyland Stadium. Well, 1 week ago, our Chip Patterson came on this very show and made his picks, which ended up going 4-2, and that's not too shabby. The UGA South Carolina total ended up being 55. Texas Tech lost by 13. Otherwise, would have been a perfect week. And with that, we welcome back the host of the Cover 3 podcast and a CBS Sports college football writer, Chip Patterson. 4-2, that's pretty good there, Chip, and I know you're trying to beat that this week, so let's get right to it. What's the SEC wager to make right now?
We're going to go to that ranked-on-ranked matchup in Arlington, Texas A&M and Arkansas. And I am looking at Texas A&M and understanding that they do not have the goods to be able to hit the one weakness in this Arkansas defense. Arkansas is a little bit banged up in the defensive backfield. So the secondary, the pass defense, those are going to be the teams that are going to be able to take advantage of Arkansas, the ones that can move it through the air. Well, hello, Texas A&M and your non-existent passing offense. This is going to be a situation where I think that Arkansas has better offensive skill players, obviously starting at the quarterback with KJ Jefferson, advantage Razorbacks, Raheem Sanders, advantage Razorbacks, even Jaden Hazelwood and some of these wideouts. I think that Arkansas has got a better offense than Texas A&M. Texas A&M's offense can't pick apart the one weakness in this Arkansas defense. And look, we can just go back and look at what happened in this game last year in Arlington. Arkansas got out to a 17-3 halftime lead and just sat on it through the second half on their way to a victory. I could see something very similar, a little bit low scoring if you want to touch the total, but I feel best about the straight-up winner. Arkansas is going to win this game.
All right, let's turn to the ACC, where Clemson's 13-0 against Wake Forest under Dabo Swinney, but the Demon Deacons, they're ranked now. Then again, Wake hasn't beaten a top 10 team since 1946. Chip, number 5 Clemson and number 21 Wake Forest. What's the wager to make on this one?
Line too little. No, you take Clemson and you lay these points, because this has been a series, as you mentioned, that since 2009 has been all Tigers. And there's an actual very clear explanation why. Because the line of scrimmage is the one place that Dabo Swinney knows he has a major advantage, and the entire game plan is built around that. Wake Forest tries to put in, this very intricate offensive attack that does a good job of minimizing some of the physical limitations that they have along the offensive line of scrimmage. They've got that run-pass option, mesh point, trying to freeze up all the defenders. Well, what we've seen in this game when Clemson plays against Wake Forest is that the defensive line is in the backfield right after the snap. And so I see something very similar here. The first 15 plays of last year's game, we had most of those plays go for negative yards. There were 5 tackles for loss. I just think that is just one area in football where when you are getting beat snap after snap after snap after snap, you're never going to be able to have success. You're never going to be able to get in a rhythm on offense. Is Clemson struggling offensively? Sure, but they're going to end up winning this game by double digits.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Big Ten. I thought for sure you were going to tackle the battle of the unbeatens at the Big House between Maryland and Michigan, but no. You've got a different pick in the Big Ten in mind. What do you got?
Oh, I'm going to Ohio State, and I'm laying all those points with the Buckeyes. And look, it's not because of the offense, and goodness gracious, Ryan Day, you can stop now. I think the 70 burger that they scored last week was them just trying to really remind everybody that C.J. Stroud and this offense really is one of the best in the entire country. I think this is going to be because of the Ohio State defense. And we saw that defense, especially against Notre Dame, come out and play with a real edge, sort of a renewed confidence under new defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. And going up against Wisconsin, I think that they are going to dare Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz to beat them through the air. I don't think the Badgers have a very competent passing attack, and that's where I think that just limiting the Badgers offensively is going to be the real key to victory. Ohio State can pour it on late as they are finally getting healthy. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Julian Fleming back in the lineup, but they are going to look at this as a good test for what they want to do and what they want to accomplish, which is a Big Ten championship. This is one of the 4 or 5 toughest opponents. I don't think that they will have any issues running it up. And again, it starts with the Buckeyes defense daring Wisconsin to beat them through the air, which they will not be able to do.
All right, you just pretty much laid it out. Not a very deep Big Ten, and you got the Buckeyes winning big. What's the wager to make right now in the Big 12?
So we're going to go to Ames, and we are going to take a great under team. You know, longtime listeners of the Cover 3 podcast know that when I find these teams with sort of a plodding and patient offensive attack and a really high-level defense, then it just becomes almost an auto fire, or at least investigating on what we've got each week. And here with Baylor and Iowa State is yet another opportunity to take an under. The Cyclones have the best defense in the Big 12. Baylor checks in total defense right there in the top 3 as well. So they both have strong units. Baylor also offensively dealing with some issues right now, especially health-wise at the running back. Blake Shapen, after a really encouraging start, has sort of sputtered in the last couple of weeks. And so I think Iowa State's going to bring the same kind of approach that it brought to that low-scoring Iowa game, where you're leaning on your defense. Iowa State quarterback Hunter Deckers is playing some ball control, don't make mistakes kind of football. All that leads to few possessions. And I'll add one more thing on here. Ames gets a little swirly, and it's not just because they're naming the Cyclones. Look for 13-mile-an-hour crosswinds to maybe push some field goal attempts offline and make it a little tougher on the deep balls throwing it.
It's windy out there on the plains. Chip, last week you picked a winner with UW, giving 3.5, winning by 11 at home against Michigan State. You're going to the well once again with the Huskies. They're giving 13.5 with Stanford heading to Seattle Saturday night.
Oh, I am. Number ain't caught up to Washington. This is a really, really good football team. And I actually think that Michigan State, the way that they climbed back in the game late, led to a misleading final. That was a game that Washington really had won, and a lot of those late scores were, in my opinion, when the final result was already decided. Michael Penix is playing even better than he was at his peak at Indiana when Kalen DeBoer, the now Washington head coach, was his offensive coordinator for the Hoosiers. I think those wide receivers are so happy to be in an offense that actually moves the ball down the field. And the thing that was most encouraging to me is that the Washington defense, which really had been the trademark of the late Chris Peterson and Jimmy Lake era, they haven't lost their relentlessness. You know, they're still getting after the passer. They're still creating problems. One final piece here, Stanford will be without star running back E.J. Smith, the son of Emmitt Smith. He's not just a famous son. He is the best offensive weapon that they have in the Cardinal offense. So with E.J. Smith being out, I think the offense is really going to struggle against this Washington defense. And then again, I'm riding with Michael Penix, who is just on one right now. I like the hook, as we are under 14 with that key number. So I would actually snap this up now because I could see it getting even bigger by the time we get to kickoff.
All right, one more to go. Last week you went off the radar. You picked Vanderbilt. Not only did they cover, but they won outright at Northern Illinois. Now, I don't expect you to stick with Vandy again. They're at Alabama this week.
Right.
So what is your off-the-radar pick this week?
We are following Georgia Tech as long as Jeff Collins is still the head coach, and we're going to the other side. We were on the Georgia Tech team total under last week. Remember, it was 42-0. Ole Miss, a cover, a Georgia Tech team total under. And now we're going to take UCF at this favorable line of just under 3 touchdowns. I think that UCF is playing with a real edge right now. Gus Malzahn and that coaching staff were so unhappy with the way they coached, with the way the team performed, and with the way that they let that game against Louisville get away. You saw them come out with the real edge in a 40-14 win the following week. And I think that they're going to go up and have no trouble wanting to run this up on a Georgia Tech team that, again, the coach is on the hot seat, feels like this thing is done. We are just waiting out for the university to make an official decision. And when I've got those teams on the road against an angry team looking to make a statement, I'm going to feel comfortable fading them. So I'll go an angry UCF Knights team being able to win by 3 touchdowns against Georgia Tech.
Sounds good. Chip Patterson to the Cover 3 podcast and CBS Sports. Thank you so much. To recap, Chip likes Arkansas getting 2 points at Texas A&M. Clemson giving 7 at Wake Forest. Chip also has Ohio State winning by 19 or more at home against Wisconsin. Baylor and Iowa State going under the 46. And Washington laying 13.5 at home to Stanford. And the big SEC on CBS game this Saturday afternoon. A showdown in Knoxville, Tennessee. The 11th ranked Vols hosting number 20 Florida. Here on CBS Sports HQ, we'll get you all set with pregame coverage, and we'll be back when it's over as well with postgame reaction too.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.